Nowhere gets snow like Buffalo.
Yeah.
We're the top 3 snowiest cities in the country.
Yeah, and the other two are Rochester and Syracuse.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So like I said, nobody else gets snow like us. You know.
Like fourth, Anchorage, Alaska.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah. As far as no, they're not getting an NFL team anytime soon. So.
No.
So I don't do this shit for nothing. Not at all.
Welcome back to the One Life Podcast, everybody. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We are actually going to be doing a recap on the Buffalo Bills 2024 season.
Oh, can't wait. It's so exciting.
Yeah. So I've only been following football for maybe about 4 years now. So I'm relatively new to the sport. This has been a super exciting year for me.
Yeah, for sure.
Where does this lie on years of following the Buffalo Bills for you? Where does this season fall as far as the hype goes?
Well, first off, I'm almost 32 now. I've been following the Bills for almost 32 years now.
You skipped a year there. You're not even 31 yet.
No, you're not 31 yet. I am 31.
Oh, jeez. You keep getting older, dude. I can't keep up. What do you think that this falls as far as like how hyped you've been about the Bills' chances?
Yeah, as far as post regular season, this has got to be number one,
Really?
Right? Like I would put 2021 in there as like during the postseason. That was the 13 seconds game year.
Yep.
Which was quite unfortunate. But in that game on that year, that was probably the most hyped I was. But like, if you'd remember in that year, the regular season was not all that good.
Right.
The Bills ended it with, I think, an 11-6 record. 11-6. I'm not exactly sure the record, but it wasn't great.
Right.
Obviously, they won the division, but like, it wasn't close to like the Chiefs, who were the 1 seed that year.
Yep.
So
yeah, I think that this year going into the postseason this year ties the best record for the Bills since Josh Allen's been a starting quarterback. I think we have one more loss because they added the additional game.
Yep.
So we're 13-4 opposed to our next best season, which was 13-3.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about what did the season look like as we were getting started? There was a lot of chatter about the Bills. The Bills weren't going to be that good. This was going to be a fix-up year because we had no wide receivers, things like that. Did you buy into any of that hype going into the season? What were your thoughts going in?
All right, so going in, like there were a ton of people who thought like the Jets and the Dolphins were gonna win the division. There were people that thought the Bills were going to be
which is silly.
fourth.
It's the Jets.
It's
but
the Jets. Like the Dolphins, I'll give you that. The Dolphins looked great the previous year. They almost won the division. They have Tyreek Hill, so everyone loves them. But like the Jets, are you kidding me? They're gonna find a way to jet. But that being said, as far as the Bills, we had a ton of players that left in free agency, right? A lot of our defense and most of our wide receivers leave. Right. So we had Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, Deontay Hardy, Trent Sherfield, and Nyheim Hines.
Right.
Well, Nyheim Hines as a running back.
Right.
But all of those players on offense leave. That ended up being 80% of the wide receiver snaps from last year. The only wide receiver that we kept from last year was Khalil Shakir.
Who's been killing it.
We like that guy.
Yeah, that man is. He's been. We saw potential from him his first year. We were really excited. He's been doing well. I mean, on paper, sure, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs were getting almost all the receiving yards for the Bills, and them going off the roster, and us getting a lot of people really that were unknown as far as Shakir hadn't done much yet to that point. We had Coleman coming in. Anytime you get a rookie, a lot of question marks.
You really never know. And not only that, like the defense was also really in rough shape too, right? We lost Mike Hyde, Jordan Poyer, who were our like longtime stalwarts in that defensive backfield. Then we lost Trey White and Leonard Floyd. Right. Trey White was injured for a long time, so we felt that less. But Leonard Floyd led us in sacks last year, and he was our best defensive end last year. So our team lost a lot of players last year, and specifically on the defense, we didn't really replace those guys, right? Like Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, we replaced with guys who are on the roster already with
Right.
DeMar Hamlin and Taylor Rapp,
Yeah, who have really stepped up.
who really stepped up. I love Taylor Rapp right now. DeMar Hamlin's doing spectacular,
Yep.
right? And then on the defensive line, we also did not add much. We had DeJuan Smoot. We also added one player in the draft. I forget his name at the moment, but like we did not add nearly as much. We did not really replace the guys that we lost on defense. But going into the season, I'm like, you know what? You're paying Josh Allen now, so you're going to have to make sacrifices somewhere. Yeah. And Sean McDermott, man knows how to coach defense.
I agree. We got decimated on defense last year with injuries.
Yeah.
And I personally don't think it looked like we lost a step the entire year on defense. So even though, like you said, we were coming into this year kind of weak on defense, quote unquote, on paper, I had faith that Sean McDermott was going to do the job fine and really get the guys that we had on the field up to speed.
Oh, 100%. I mean,
it was the offense that, was a little bit more of a question mark.
Yep, for sure. And honestly, speaking on that defense last year, we were getting guys off the street. We got, his name escapes me. Before the Chiefs game, we got a linebacker just completely off of the couch.
Yeah, it's fine. We'll link it on there.
Yeah, but
we'll post it on the video.
His name will be popping up.
So yeah, who else did we gain that year? We talked about the people that we lost. Obviously, we got Coleman out of the draft.
Yep.
Who took a little bit to get started, but has really found his spot on the offense and really is a key player to the team now. Who else did we gain going into the season?
Yeah, so we got Curtis Samuel.
Yep.
We got Matt Collins, and really important, we got David Edwards, who's our left. He's a guard on our team. He's either left or right guard. Our starting offensive line has been a huge, incredible this year, right? They have played every single game except for the 17th game,
right?
And they haven't missed a snap.
Yeah,
right. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And a lot of these guys really had a bit of a slow start. Like you said, we picked up Curtis Samuel. He didn't do too much as the season was just getting started. Right. We weren't sure what Coleman was going to do. And then obviously we had a little bit. We've been really lucky as far as injuries go this year too.
Yeah,
for the most part. We had a little bit of scares with Coleman and Cooper midway end of the mid part of the season, and luckily those just kind of went and passed. They're back in the game now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we have very many players on IR. Milano came back midway through the season. Yeah, he's been playing well, but I mean, Dorian Williams played really well as a replacement, right? Sean McDermott, that man, he can just coach any mid-level guy up into a good player, right? Like, there are not that many players. Obviously, this is the NFL. Everybody's talented, right? And I think McDermott just gets the most out of that talent.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, he's shown the resilience and going through adversity throughout the season, multiple years now, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see what the defense does for us going into the postseason.
Yeah, for sure.
So I pulled up some stats from previous years. I pulled up stats 2018 on since Josh Allen was the starting quarterback, and just kind of wanted to throw some numbers at you and kind of see what you think. One thing that I thought was interesting that although this year seems and feels like it is our most consistent, most dominant year, the some of the numbers are a little bit surprising. So this is actually our lowest year as far as receiving yards since 2019. 2019, we had that was the last year that he had under 4,000 yards.
Right. And that was the first year with John Brown and Cole Beasley. So that was his second season.
Yep.
So Josh Allen was not who he is today then.
Third season, 4,620 yards. Fourth season, 4,284. Then 4,129, 4,000. 4,049 yards last year, and then 4,100 yards this year. So besides last year, one of the lower years in the past 5 years that Josh Allen has had in receiving yards, which or in passing yards, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I mean, things to consider, right? He played one fewer game, right?
Yep.
And we got into a lot of leads, and when we get into a lead, Sean McDermott doesn't really care about running up the score.
Yeah.
So he just runs the ball.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, we have a ton of rushing yards this year. We're James Cook, Ray Davis, Ty Johnson. They're just killing it in the running game this year. And a big part of that is obviously McDermott wants to emphasize the running game.
Yeah.
But also, like, for instance, the game against the Jets, right? Josh Allen had, I think, 4, maybe 5 touchdowns.
Right.
But he only had like 150 yards. But
Right.
that's because the defense was turning it over. The running backs were doing great, they were getting us into the red zone. And then Josh Allen was punching it in for the score, right?
Yeah. And I think that's a really good point that you make as far as like Josh Allen. But I don't have the numbers on this, but I bet you this is one of the seasons where Josh Allen has sat out for the fourth quarter, more than any other season because they've been consistently putting points on the board. We're not having a lot the turnovers, things like that are making these games super close. We've been having a lot of blowouts, you know.
I believe the net is, I think he's sat out 11 quarters this year.
Yeah.
Which includes the 4 in the final game, and which means there was 5? No, 6. No, I'm wrong again. 7. Sorry, my math was poor there.
It's okay. 7 what you're saying though?
7 quarters that he sat out before the final game.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So he sat out 7 full quarters of football.
Yeah, before the final game where he sat out the entire game.
Yeah.
How is that? I'm not aware of. Is that a lot? Is that a lot?
That's a ton.
Okay, really?
That means there were 7 games where we were blowing teams out so much that Josh Allen just sat down.
Yeah, that's great. And you're right. Our rushing yards. This is one of the higher yards for the Buffalo Bills since 2018 as far as rushing yards go. The only year that we had more yards was back in 2022, and there was 2 more yards. So right on par with our best season as far as rushing goes as well. So the passing game has not had to been as aggressive because we have 3 very
good backs.
Yeah. I mean, I personally, I hope that going into the Super Bowl that we get to see Ray Davis touch the ball a little bit more. And I like Ty Johnson.
Yeah. So in my opinion, Ty Johnson has to be one of the best third down backs in the league, right? He is a matchup nightmare against linebackers.
Oh, really?
Right? What we did against the Lions, we just torched them with Ty Johnson because they were down a ton of linebackers, right? They had slow linebackers, so Ty Johnson would just run wheel routes, and none of their linebackers could cover him.
So speed is his biggest weapon?
Oh, yeah, he is lightning fast.
Yeah.
Like, he might be the fastest guy on our team.
Yeah.
And, like...
Yeah, I really hope that we go back to so there was a little part of the season this year where we were like mixing in our running backs, like rotating them off the bench like continuously, and then we've kind of gone back to Cook being the main toucher of the ball for the running game. I don't know the reason for that because it seemed to be going well, but I hope that we see a little bit more of that going into the postseason.
Yeah, I think a big part of that is we saw a lot of that in that stretch of Kansas City, San Francisco, Rams, Lions, where we were
tough games.
Really tough games, had to really put our full effort into it. They felt like playoff games, even though they weren't, right? And like then we had Patriots, Jets, Patriots. And like honestly, I think we went vanilla there. Like we went to a formation where we just didn't do that much offensively. Like they didn't have to do much.
Rest our guys as much as possible. Get the job
Just
done.
Run the ball a lot, run the games out, win, right? Especially against the Jets. Like we would turn the ball over and then run it and then try to run the clock and then score. And then score again and then score again.
So some other numbers that I wanted to talk to you about, so these are the numbers that I think have made a really big difference. Because like I said, on paper, it's a little weird. It's like, oh, why, I think I misspoke before. So the number I gave was the receiving yards, but it's also, which makes sense. But it's almost significantly less passing yards for Josh Allen than previous years. 600 less than last year, close to that for the 2 years before that, and like 800 yards less than back in 2020. But one thing that has significantly improved is, of course, the interception numbers.
Oh, yeah. So much fewer interceptions. It's insane.
So before this year, Josh Allen's best year as far as interceptions was back in 2019 with 9 interceptions.
Right.
And last year, Josh Allen had a whopping 18 interceptions, and we have cut it down to 6 interceptions going into the postseason. Yeah.
6.
He's been so much more calculated with his decisions.
Yeah, and I feel like it's one of those things where his interceptions usually came when he was doing that sugar high Josh Allen, as Kyle Brandt would say, like where he would get pressure on him and he'd like look around. Oh, over there. Oh, no, over there. Okay, I don't see anyone open. Just chuck it downfield.
Yeah.
Right? And now, like, he either knows where it's going right off of the bat. Like, he hits read 1, 2, 3. And if none of them are open,
check down.
He either checks it down if the check down's open, or he scrambles.
Yeah.
Right? And he runs to his right, or if he really has to, he runs to his left. And when that man is running outside the lines to his right, his receivers this year, they just know how to get open.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And I think the options of receivers to throw to has significantly improved this year.
Yeah.
Right. They talk a lot about in the preseason or going into the end of last year that there might have been a Stefon Diggs problem as far as like too much pressure to get him the ball over and over. Whether that's the case or not, who knows? But one thing that we can say this year is that we have tied the NFL record for the number of receiving touchdowns from different players. We have, I think, 13 different players.
13 different players. And like, that's such a huge record. And like, I agree that I don't know if it was a Stefon Diggs problem because I mean, he warranted that. He's that good of a player, right? So like, it's not so much a problem as it is like, that's who Josh Allen always looks to. But if he's not open, it's like, oh shit, where do I go now? Right. Yeah. Whereas this year he doesn't have any of those oh shit moments because he doesn't really have that go-to guy.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's just scanning the field and looking for who's open. And I mean, obviously it's multiple guys at once now, Yeah. I think, Stefon Diggs, what year was it where Stefon Diggs and Josh Allen had their crazy duo?
I would say his first year in 2020 and then 2021 as well. So the 2020 season, which ended up in the 2021 playoffs, which ended with that Kansas City 13 seconds game. Yeah. That was an incredible season. The following year as well was a great season for both Allen and Diggs, right? I think that 2020 season was probably the best year because not only did we have Diggs, but we had Cole Beasley and John Brown.
Right, that's true.
Right, those three together was an insane combo of wide receivers but it was really only those three guys. We still had Dawson Knox then, but Dawson Knox has always been a really good blocker and really good after the catch, just trying to bowl people over. But like, he's never been great at getting open.
I don't know, man. I mean, you're probably right, but I like Dawson Knox still for this team. I think that
I do too.
I think he's excellent. I think he's reliable. And
he has great hands. He
he
doesn't drop the ball.
Right.
And he doesn't really get open, but he can find a spot. Right. Like he's a tight end where, he's not going to beat a DB. Right. But if he's up against like their worst linebacker in coverage, which, it ends up happening a lot, he just ends up, finding a little crease to get open. But and Josh Allen knows how to throw it to him. Right.
Like, and I think having this double tight end scheme that we've been running the past 2 years has been good too.
Yep.
We don't rely on it too heavy, which is good as well.
Right.
But at the same time, like having like 2 viable tight ends is another tool in our tool belt.
Right. And we don't run the double tight end that much, but what we do run a lot is an extra offensive lineman, which I think is an incredible. We've been doing a great job with that extra offensive lineman this year, right? That's one of the reasons our run game is so dynamic because we have 6 linemen on the field and we just bull rush the other team. And they are doing some ridiculous pulls. Like Deion Dawkins and Spencer Brown pull a lot. We do a tackle guard double pull around where those guys both pull around, and then we have like a really over heavy, like a ton of offensive linemen on one side.
Yeah.
They leave like 2 guys to be unblocked, but by the time James Cook or Ray Davis gets through that hole, it doesn't matter where those guys are.
Yeah, and to support your take on that, this is, I think, even more impressive almost than the interception rate is how little we've been sacked this year. So so I'm just going to read out from 2018 on. 28 sacks, 38 sacks, 26, 33, 24, 14 sacks this year. We've only been sacked 14 times, almost half or more of the amount of times that we've gotten sacked in the previous years. Yeah. So that O-line they're doing an excellent job of giving Josh time. He's not even having to scramble all over this year to avoid the sacks. He's being smart about the scramble. He's not putting himself in danger. He's not hurdling everybody. I'm hoping we see a little bit more of that in the playoffs. Yeah. And I really think that, I think you're right. I think that the O-line has given Josh time in the pocket.
Yep.
Which has been a big difference.
Honestly, I think just watching the games, I feel like when Josh Allen scrambles, it's mostly because someone wasn't open, and he scrambles not because he's getting pressured, but because he wants to create extra time, right?
Yeah.
He sits in there for 3 seconds and no one's open, and he breaks the pocket because you don't want to sit in the pocket for 5 seconds because then you're getting sacked.
Yep.
Right. So and the other thing, I think Spencer Brown, our right tackle, does a really good job at pushing their defensive end out wide to create a pocket for Josh Allen, right? So, like, one of the big things about quarterback play is you want to sit in the pocket in a very specific spot because you want people to block around you, and they always block the same way, right? So if they're blocking around you correctly, they're keeping that spot free. But I think Spencer Brown's doing something a little different where he's pushing it out wider and giving Josh Allen that run lane out to his right.
Right, which is exactly what he likes to do is run out to his right. I wouldn't say that the number here is impressive compared to previous years, but impressive nonetheless is we consistently tend to be a team with great turnovers on defense. Right. Our defensive turnovers are at 28 turnovers this year, 18 interceptions, 10 fumble recoveries. That is the second best of any year that we've had with Josh Allen, going back to 2021, where we had one more interception, one more fumble. Okay. So we continuously be are a team that forces turnovers on defense.
Yeah.
And I think, when you look at those numbers that we talked about earlier, as far as, why are the yards not as high and things like that, part of it is that we're not having to make up ground anymore, right? So, Josh Allen was throwing 300 to 600 more yards, but he was throwing all those yards and then we were throwing an interception and it meant nothing. Or we were throwing all those yards and we were getting sacked. And, so I think that the yards that we are getting, they're amounting to touchdowns now. They're amounting to scores more often.
Right. So there's a stat, I don't know the name of it, where it comes up as the net negative plays that you have versus the net negative plays that your opponent has, right? And it's an insane stat where it includes interceptions, fumbles, and sacks, right? Because interceptions, fumbles, and sacks, obviously interceptions and fumbles are drive killers because they end your drive. But sacks are also a huge drive killer, right? Like, let's say you're at 2nd and 5 and you get a 10-yard sack. Now you're at 3rd and 15. That's an insane drive killer, right? And not getting sacked can be such a huge thing. And one of the other things about Josh Allen's sacks, he doesn't take big sacks, right?
Right.
Even when he does take a sack, he's usually trying to move forward. So, like, even in his sacks, they're better than other players. Like, you see some of these guys who try to get away and then they get a 15-yard sack and you're like, oh, that was not good. Yeah,
I think that I was talking about this with you the other day. I think that's one of the weaknesses in Lamar's game is when Lamar is getting pressured by the D-line and when he does get sacked, he drops back. He's so fast and he drops back quite a bit that when he gets sacked, I mean, it's 2nd and 23 right there,
Right. Yeah. And I mean, that is definitely a weakness, but it's also a strength because, like, sometimes he'll go back those 15 yards and get sacked. The other times he'll go back 15 yards and shake a dude and get up another 15 yards and just do some ridiculous play. Like Lamar's insane that way, but his net negatives are more negative, but his net positives can be more positive. Right?
Yeah.
He's just that electric.
He's just scary.
Like, he's probably the best runner of the football in the league.
Right.
And that includes running backs, right? Like, I'm including Saquon Barkley. Like, Saquon Barkley's insane, but like, I would put Lamar Jackson up against Saquon Barkley as a runner of the football any day of the week.
Yeah. And so going back to what we were saying about the yards that we're gaining now mattering more, this is our best year as far as number of touchdowns scored.
Really?
Yeah. The only other year that we broke 60 touchdowns in the regular season was back in 2020. We got 63 this year. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So how many did we get in 2020?
2020, we got 60.
Okay. So
60
this is our
even.
most touchdowns since Josh Allen was a quarterback.
Yep. Since Josh Allen has become quarterback.
And that includes our last game of the season where we didn't even try. Right? Like, all of these stats, like where we are better this year than any other season, right? That's not including, a week 17 game where we would have an extra 4 touchdowns if, we had actually tried.
Yeah. And we're not a team to run up the score either.
No, not even a little bit, right? Like, we get up 2 scores on someone, we just maintain that 2-score lead and we try to run the clock, right? Like, anytime we are up any amount of scores, we try to run clock, we try to just end the game as quick as possible and be like, okay, that's it. We won, because that's all we care about. Really interesting stat about the fact that we have 63 touchdowns. I think this is the first time in NFL history that a team has had 30 rushing touchdowns and 30 passing touchdowns in the same season. Like,
yeah, man, we're spreading the ball. Like, we are just so selfless with the ball this year. The ball is getting to everybody's hands. Running backs, all the receivers are touching the ball. Everybody's getting touchdowns. Yeah, I'm really excited about a true team dynamic that we have going on.
By the way, you were talking about Josh Allen's receiving yards before, right? Like, you're right with all of his passing yards, but he only has like 7 receiving yards, Josh.
Hey, that's more than your quarterbacks out there. So yeah, we wanted to talk about a little bit about some specific games. Adam and I both had the chance to get out to Buffalo Bills games this year.
Yep.
One of us had more fun than the other. I drove 5 hours out to Baltimore to see us have our only stinky game of the year, where unfortunately the Ravens ran all over us. Our worst game of the year, probably one of their best games of the year.
Yep.
What do you think about that game? What do you think about if we have a rematch with them coming up in the playoffs? Should we be worried? Do you think we're the same team as we were back then?
We're definitely not the same team we were back then. I would still be concerned about our defense, to be honest. Like, I don't know how we're going to stop Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry has always given us issues.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that man is a freaking freight train. And even when he was on the Titans, no matter what, he always gets like 150 yards against us. But that being said, like, our offense did nothing in that game either, right? Like, this team has scored 30 points in more games than any other team in the league. Yeah. Maybe except for Detroit. We'll have
it's very close, yeah.
Yeah.
They probably are the only other team that's close to us as far as that.
And like, we're so consistent with scoring points, and like, I don't see us not scoring 30, 35, 40 points against the Ravens even in another game this year. So like, I think we're a different team for sure. Yeah. But it's still going to be a very difficult game.
I think defensively we've almost like flipped is the word I'm looking for. I think that we started off the season significantly better in the passing defense realm of things, and I think that our pass defense has maybe gotten a little worse. I think we've seen an uptick in the past couple of weeks where they're showing a good job again. But I think our run defense has significantly improved. We were kind of getting run all over by teams with good running backs at the beginning of the season, but that seemed to be changing for us.
Yeah, so one thing I noticed early in the season is there were a lot of big runs against us, right? There were a lot of players who, like Derrick Henry's, then I don't know all of the other players who ran against us, but they broke long runs, right? Like the first play of that Ravens game was an 80-yard touchdown by Derrick Henry. Like he pops through that line and just boom, straight down the field.
King Henry style.
Like And that's one of our big problems, right? That has historically been one of our problems, right? When people say we get run on, they're right to a sense, right? The biggest problem is once running back gets past our linebackers, our corners and DBs are specialized in defending the pass, right? And they're not great at tackling those big, heavy running backs, right?
Yeah. And they've done an excellent job with the pass defense. I mean, Rapp and Damar Hamlin have been doing great in the pass game. I think that one of the differences, and you can tell me what your opinion on this is, we have Milano back since the Ravens game. He wasn't playing it when we were against the Ravens. Correct.
Yeah. So having Milano back is huge. He has some of the best vision in football, right? So like Williams, Dorian Williams was really good, right? He's a very good player, very fast. He does decent in pass coverage. His biggest problem is he doesn't have great vision, and he when the opponent has a play action play, he bites on it. When there's a counter, Dorian Williams just bites on it and eats, right? Okay. Like if it's a straight up play where like they're running up like the power O, right? Like, or a stretch play where it's an outside run and like they're just running it and they don't have any kind of misdirection or anything like that. Yeah. Dorian Williams will just fly at it and get it, make a great play. But
which is interesting because that seems to be a little bit more Derrick Henry's style, right?
It is.
Just a freight train.
It is. But what the Ravens are doing with Derrick Henry a lot is not necessarily misdirection with Derrick Henry, but misdirection with their blocking and misdirection with end arounds.
Well, and the fact that it's a dual threat, right? You have to watch Lamar hardcore because if they do an option and Lamar's off,
or like a play action play where like Lamar's going off, fakes the handoff, runs around, he could go for 50 yards, right? So so that's the biggest problem with the Ravens are such a hard team to defend because of the mix of Lamar and Derrick Henry. Yeah. What might make a huge difference is Zay Flowers is hurt right now too.
Oh, that's right.
That's
right. What was the injury? Do you remember?
Not off the top of my head. Okay. Maybe an ankle.
Okay. Is he projected to come back or is he done?
I don't know. Okay. I don't think
that's a big deal.
I think they're keeping it under wraps whether he's playing or not, which is honestly smart.
Yeah. With what you were saying about Milano being good at timing and misdirection and stuff like that. Yeah. If we do end up seeing Philadelphia in the Super Bowl, that's a big deal because Barkley is, where Henry is a freight train, I mean, Barkley is dynamic as can be.
Exactly. He obviously can run through people, but not quite as much as Derrick Henry. But he just is hyper athletic. Like he'll juke someone out. He'll run a counter where he starts running left and then goes right, and you just didn't realize that he wasn't going left anymore.
And then you get hurtled backwards.
Mans has such awareness that he knows when to leap up and throw his legs up and jump over someone without even seeing them. Yeah. Like, can you imagine you're doing a spin and you have the body awareness to be like, oh yeah, there's a guy behind me right now. Yeah.
I barely made it over the hurdles going forward when I did track. So I don't know about that going backwards. But yeah, I think that skill set with Milano will be very important.
For sure.
Because I mean, it's always up in the air when it comes to the playoffs, but I would suspect that those are the two teams that we could see going into the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so. I mean, it's Detroit or Philadelphia, honestly. Like, those are the two Super Bowl teams from the NFC. Everyone else, like, I can't see the Packers getting in. I could see the Rams doing it if Matt Stafford just catches fire. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, I don't want to cut you off. We'll come back to the playoff picture. Go ahead and talk to us about your game that you went and saw this year. You went to the 49ers game.
Yeah, I went to probably the most fun Bills game all season. It was the snow game, the 49ers game. It was absolutely electric, right? Yep. There was snow coming down. We had the perfect seats, right? We were in the 100 levels, but we were the very back row of the 100 levels. So like the overhang on top just covered us. Oh, nice. So we weren't getting snowed on. Yeah. But everyone else was. Yeah. And we were it was so much fun. Whenever there was a score or anything, we threw up snow, and like that game was so electric. And obviously the best play of the season, Josh Allen throws it Amari Cooper catches it with one hand, is surrounded, tosses it back to Josh Allen, who runs it in for the touchdown.
Yeah.
The funniest stat line ever. Josh Allen on that play has a passing touchdown, no receptions, a completion, 7 receiving yards, and a receiving touchdown.
That's so funny. And that had to have been amazing to see in person and to hear the crowd go wild over it.
It was insane. Like it had to be the most exciting play I've ever watched.
That's
like,
awesome.
I mean, you and I went to that snow game in Indy against Indy many years back, and that LaShawn McCoy touchdown was electric.
Yeah, we didn't have a covering for that one. I was ill prepared with shoes that were not waterproof enough, and that. How would you say snow accumulation wise the two compare? Was it more when we went, or
it was definitely more when we went, but yeah, it was more that when you and I went that time.
That was great. We were sitting there and it was snowing so hard that within like 30 minutes, we legit had about 3 inches accumulated on our shoulders and heads. And everybody was tossing snowballs around. You know what I'm about to say?
Yep.
So you're all tossing snowballs around, and Adam lobs up a snowball and hits. Who were we playing? We were playing the Colts.
Yes, the Colts.
Yeah, he lobs it up and smacks one of the Colts fans in the back of the head. He turned around looking so mad, and Adam's just like.
And then like it wasn't that I got that. So I was playing catch with a Bills fan, like a couple rows back, and we were playing catch with a snowball, and then a security guard comes down, and like it's like, hey, you gotta stop throwing snowballs. I'm like, okay.
That's so funny. Yeah. So, what do you think of the way we played in that game? Because that was obviously with the elements. It was a very different play style, but it was really like raw football. We weren't nothing fancy. There was a lot of running.
Yeah. I mean, James Cook was insane that day. When James Cook did that, he had a 60-something yard run, and like when he got through the line, it looked like only he could run.
Yeah.
Right. He was like running full speed. Everyone else was like running half speed. And when he got in the end zone and went for that slide, like
he was running like boys been training in Buffalo, and everybody else has been sitting back in their lawn chairs sunbathing.
Exactly. I mean, you could just tell when the snow started coming that the 49ers were just like so dejected. They're like, "Oh, I don't want to be here. It's cold," and like it's just the perfect weather for Buffalo, right?
Yeah. No, it makes it and going into the playoffs, having home field advantage is going to be a big deal.
Yeah, for sure.
I hope we get lots of snow.
Yeah, and honestly,
the Broncos might be ready.
Yeah, the Broncos might be ready, and then that could be interesting, right? Like if we play the Ravens in the snow, I don't know if we. I think we probably have the advantage there, but
we do, of course. I mean,
Baltimore
doesn't get snow like Buffalo. Nowhere gets snow like Buffalo. We're the top 3 snowiest cities in the country.
Yeah, and the other 2 are Rochester and Syracuse.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So like I said, nobody else gets snow like us. You know?
Like 4th, Anchorage, Alaska.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah. So as far as no, they're not getting an NFL team anytime soon. So.
No.
Okay, and so the other games we want to talk about, major wins for the Buffalo Bills this year.
Yep.
Chiefs win. I went into work the next day. I looked like a madman. I came in waving my Buffalo Bills jersey after we beat the Chiefs because we were just all so sick of all the Chiefs janky wins.
Yep.
And the Buffalo Bills come
undefeated
out.
season.
Yeah. Well, we stopped that from becoming a reality. Thank goodness.
Yeah, seriously. Like even like as much as it would suck to lose again this year in the playoffs, at least we don't have to hear about the Chiefs having an undefeated season.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
Yeah, and we played great against them. And
yeah.
the important thing, and you always say this, is the important thing to beat the Chiefs is you can't stop scoring. And we didn't.
Yep.
We scored on every drive, correct? Did we?
I don't know if we scored
majority
on
of
every drive.
drives.
Most of the drives. And we took a lead, right? We took a 2-score lead.
Yeah.
I think it was 9. I think we got it up to like 13 points at some point. And what we ended up doing is we just kept scoring. And I think I've told you this a couple of times. The only way that a team can come back is if you stop scoring.
Right.
Right. And
Yeah, exactly.
like the Chiefs were making a comeback, right? They kept scoring, but every time they scored, we scored.
Right.
Right.
And we already had that lead.
And we had that lead and we just kept it up. And kept pace, and just never let them get it within one score, right? Whenever they would like get within one score, we would score again.
Yeah.
So at the end of that game, so the drive before our last touchdown, the Chiefs scored and ended up down 2 points. So we were up 9, they scored, and we're down 2, right? And in my opinion, I think they should have gone for 2 there. Right? Because if they went for 2 there, they would have gone from being down 9, like they would have gone from being down 2 to being down 1, right? And then when we scored after that, because let's face it, it's the Bills Chiefs. It's score.
Yeah, every time we play.
Just assume the Bills are going to score after that. Then they would have only been down 8. So, like, I think, like, it wouldn't have mattered in this particular game because we intercepted Pat Mahomes on the last drive.
Yeah.
But if they had gone for 2 there, got it, and then came back the following drive, down 8 instead of down 9, that makes a huge difference.
Tie up the game.
Yep. And that's why I think, like, on the other hand, I think if they had done that, when the Bills scored next, I think they have to go for 2 as well.
Right.
And put it up 9. But yeah, the end of that game, that 4th and 2 play where Josh Allen was like sitting there, no one's open.
You talking about the run?
Yeah, the Chiefs had us blanketed.
Yeah.
Man coverage, no one open. Josh Allen looks around, there's absolutely no one. Runs it.
Most iconic Josh Allen play of the season for sure.
Runs through one guy, runs through another guy, and then hits another guy and goes into the end zone. Oh, that was such an incredible play.
That was amazing. And then our other iconic win this year is beating the Lions.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, another one where you just had to keep scoring, right? Like, we took a lead early and then just traded score after score after score. It wasn't quite as comfortable as the Chiefs.
Yeah.
But, like, that's what you had to do against that team, right? And it was just trading score after score. And
yeah, 2 weeks in a row, we had games over 40 points. You know, we had just come off that annoying loss against the Rams, where we scored. Well, I think it was like 42-44 or something like that.
Yep, exactly.
And then we came back and scored another 42 against Detroit. And I don't know if people are sleeping on the Bills or not this year, but when people. I tell people at work and stuff like that, I'm like, yeah, Bills are the best team in the NFL. And they're like, you really think so? I'm like, what more do we need to do than to beat the Chiefs and the Lions, the 2 teams that everybody is saying are the 2 best teams in the NFL.
Exactly.
We've done that, and I'm super excited to go into the playoffs this year.
Yeah, and like the Lions, I would have said the Lions are the best team for a long time, but their defense is just so injured. Like they just can't do it. I think they could get into the Super Bowl. But once they get there, like, they're not going to be able to keep up with the Chiefs, Bills, or Ravens.
Yeah, well, it's going to be shootouts, right? They're just going to have to be on point on offense to keep up with, what's coming on the other side.
And all 3 of those other teams have good defenses, right? And, like, I would just have more faith in them to stop Detroit once than Detroit to stop the other team once.
Before we start talking about the playoffs, I wanted to talk about, we talked about the changes that we were having with the roster at the beginning of the year.
Right.
We brought on Amari Cooper midway through the season. How do you think that the new players on the team have done? What do you think has been the key to our success with new players such as Curtis Samuel, Keon Coleman, Amari Cooper, Matt Collins? The offense, like what do you think about those players? What roles do you think they play, and why do you think we've done so well with them?
Yeah, so I think what we've done a great job is just spreading the ball around really well, and I don't want to discount the effect that Matt Collins is having on the entire team. Have you heard about his the fact that he never wears shoes except on game day? Like
I have, which I know a little bit of the research behind that, but I've heard he's just great to have in the locker room. Yeah,
he's an incredible guy. He's just he has just an electric personality. Like he got like most of the team in training camp to not wear shoes. Like most of the team was just like walking around no shoes, living their life.
That's funny.
He's got a great YouTube channel. I don't know if you follow him, but
No,
he
I
does
don't.
like household advice and like stuff like that. And he's just a funny guy. Like
I like seeing his wardrobe coming into the games. They've had him
the
up there a
mad
couple of times.
scientist.
Yeah, he had another like really good one the other week.
Oh yeah, he was wearing like a buffalo skin.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Well, and so I think that he's transformed a little bit this season too, because he was just that guy who was really good to have in the locker room. He had a drop problem. He every time he's touched the ball, he's done well. The second half of this season, I think that he's transformed from being just a team builder to being a maybe not top tier receiver, but when you have Josh Allen throwing it to you, a lot of very good receivers turn into top tier receivers.
Yeah,
and I think that's what's been happening.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he did have a bit of a drop problem early in the season, and he is a very core special teams player as well, right? Like he does a really great job on special teams, but like towards the latter half of the season, he's one of the most reliable red zone targets that we've got, right? Like, was that No, it was the 49ers game, right? Where he was like one-on-one with a guy and he just went up and grabbed it in the end zone.
Yeah.
And like
touchdown.
Toe touch.
Like that.
So it was him one-on-one and he just basketball grabbed it. Where like
yes.
One-on-one and he just goes up. Josh Allen throws it to his left shoulder and then boom.
Yeah. Speaking of basketball grabs, Keon Coleman had his injury halfway through the season, has come back and right back in the action, and has been a reliable jump ball specialist. You know,
for sure.
We can lob it up to him when he's next to a corner, a DB. He can jump and out grab it on people. He's been a new kind of weapon that we haven't had on the Bills offense.
Oh, for sure. I mean, he is what Matt Collins is, but 10 times more, right? Like, so Keon Coleman was a basketball player in college as well as a football player, and Mans has hops. Like,
How tall is he? Do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head, but you can just see it whenever he leaps up for a grab. Like, he's just a solid 6 inches to a foot. Sorry, Mr. Tyson.
Mr. Tyson here is supporting the podcast. He's a Buffalo. I'm very disappointed in myself. I didn't put my Buffalo Bills jersey on Tyson coming today. I meant to, so that if he made a cameo appearance, that he would have his jersey on. But next time,
Mans keeps like coming up and licking my feet.
Yeah. So I think that one thing that we have with the Bills receivers this year is so much diversity, right? We have Curtis Samuel, who's a speedster, one of the fastest players on our team. We have Keon Coleman, who can outjump anybody.
Right.
He's also got some legs on him. We have Amari Cooper, I feel like his IQ on the field is excellent.
And he's just a really good all-around player. He's a great route runner.
Right.
He knows how to get open, and then he also does the jump ball thing, right?
Yeah.
He's able to do the jump ball thing. He's not quite on the level of Keon. Like, I feel like Keon just does the jump ball better than everyone.
Right.
But there are other guys that have that ability as well. Like, he's covered, but you throw it up to him and be like, maybe he'll win.
Yeah, if he's one-on-one, it's like the ball's going to Cooper because he's got that intelligence. He's in the right position to make that snag.
Yeah, you want those receivers who, when you throw a ball up and it's a 50-50 ball, when you throw it to that receiver, it's actually an 80-20 ball.
Right. And then we have Mac Hollins, we've talked about already. Khalil Shakir has been an amazing slot receiver.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, he just always seems to be open, and it's very rare that he drops the ball. He's so reliable, and he's outside of the slot position. He's also just been making huge plays down the field too.
Yep, for sure. And like, he's one of the few guys that I will allow to get a wide receiver screen. I hate wide receiver screens in general as a principle, but Khalil Shakir just finds a way to get yards, right? Like, he's just a yards after catch master.
I think he's got really good footwork. He is immediately moving his body in the correct direction as soon as he makes contact with the ball, and he just seems to be aware of his surroundings.
Yeah, and he knows how to get downfield quick, right? Like, there's a lot of these guys who like try to dance around and juke someone, but he knows he's not the fastest guy on the field.
Yeah.
But he gets down the field.
Yeah.
Right. So like, he doesn't run horizontally when once he gets the ball, he just hits vertical and gets as many yards as he can, and sometimes it's all of the yards.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to know what his 40 time is, because I know that the team kind of jokes around that he's like the old man of the team. He just moves kind of slow until it's game time, and then he just finds a way to get open and makes plays.
Have you heard this man's voice? He has the deepest voice I've ever heard.
Oh, really?
Like, it is absurdly deep. I couldn't even try to comment on it. We'll throw a little clip in here so you can hear.
I don't even know if I was on the field, but I was just screaming. When you see him do things like that, he's a true leader, true competitor, true warrior.
Yeah. So any other notable players on the team that you think have made a huge impact this year they're new to the team?
Let's see. Who's the offensive lineman that I said? Not Connor McGovern.
Have you forgotten a second time?
No.
That was a different player.
That was a different player.
You remembered who it was? Who was it?
Oh, it was AJ Klein.
AJ Klein. Yes.
Yeah. We have a new offensive lineman who's done really well. Let's see. I can't think of another big addition.
Yeah. I think that the additions that we've mentioned have been, the biggest players as far as scoring more points and reducing the amount of interceptions that are coming into out of Josh Allen's hands.
Yep.
Because he has reliable guys that are getting open.
Yeah, and some interceptions have been drops by receivers.
That's true.
I wouldn't say a lot of them, but
when you only have 6, even 2 that are from drop receivers make a big difference.
Yeah.
So So really thrown interceptions into the defensive hands. You're saying, maybe 4. Incredible.
Yeah, it's
incredible
insane.
as far as that. I think that as far as teams going into, I'll say this, but I don't know that for sure. But I think that Lamar is one of the only quarterbacks going into the postseason that has less than Josh Allen. I know he only has like 4 interceptions this season.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he has more fumbles though.
Okay.
I think turnover wise, I think they are equal because
Okay.
I think Lamar has more fumbles than Josh does.
So obviously going into the playoffs next week, how do you feel about this matchup for us against the Broncos?
It's an actually super interesting matchup because, like you said, our offensive line has the fewest sacks in the league, but the Denver Broncos have the most sacks on defense in the league.
Yeah.
So it's a super interesting matchup. Like, I think a big part of it is going to be Josh Allen's legs because you can't expect a team like that to not have pressure on your quarterback, right? No matter how good your offensive line is, they are on a back foot, quite literally. And like those elite defensive lines just find a way to get pressure on quarterbacks, but they have done some of that with blitzing, right? And Josh Allen absolutely punishes the blitz.
Yeah, if they don't get him off the bat and he breaks away with his legs, which we haven't seen a lot of this year, but I think that the mobility of Josh Allen has been put a little bit under wraps to keep him protected.
Yep,
I think that if Denver tries to blitz Josh Allen, he's gonna start to use those legs in the postseason and get away from it and start to extend plays, things like that.
For sure. Another really interesting aspect is Patrick Surtain. So, right, Patrick Surtain is probably the best corner in the league, and he usually follows the other team's number 1 receiver. But you know what? Does that really matter on our team when we have so many receivers, right? You just throw it to not Patrick Surtain, right? Like whoever he's covering, just pretend that guy doesn't exist and throw it to one of your other guys and you're fine, right? Like the rest of the Denver secondary is good. They're not great. So like, why would you throw it against the best player in the league when you have all of the other options?
Yeah, exactly. We've said it over and over this podcast. We spread the ball.
Yeah.
And if there's only, one uber dangerous corner.
Yeah.
Then, that don't throw it his way, you know. Make him exhaust himself for nothing.
Yeah. It would be really interesting if we kept rotating guys and whoever was on Patrick Surtain, we just sent him on a go route. just make PS2 run.
Oh, that's funny. That's too funny. What about the Broncos offense? What do you think we have anything to worry about with them? How do you think we match up as far as the offense goes?
So Bo Nix is a rookie quarterback.
Correct.
And the Sean McDermott's defense is extremely confusing, right? And
Okay.
against quarterbacks who see him the first time, he is incredibly good because his defense is different from almost everything else in the league. So I think Bo Nix is going to be caught like a deer in the headlights, right? I don't think he's going to do well. He's a rookie. He's never seen a Sean McDermott defense before. While Sean Payton is a great coach and he'll do his best to get Bo Nix ready for us, I think Bo Nix is going to have trouble against us this weekend. So as much as, honestly, this could be a low-scoring game. Like, as I'm talking about it, with one of the best defenses in the league against and Bo Nix and going against Sean McDermott, like, it could end up being a very low-scoring game.
Yeah.
So I don't like gambling, but if I did, I would say smack that under.
Yeah. Well, and I think, and this might be a hot take and a little bias here. I think that the Buffalo Bills have gotten themselves into the playoff. We secured the second seed, and I don't think that we've shown all our cards, man. I really think that almost all these other teams they've been having to put their best foot forward to get where they are. Obviously, we're playing hard football.
Yeah.
But I think, I personally, I know I've told you this before, I think that Von Miller has been sandbagging this year. The biggest reason I say that is because when I look at Von Miller playing, I don't see him looking slow or, like he's lost a step. It's almost like he's known for his skill set, right?
Yeah.
He's smart as far as his swimming tactics, and
his speed, his change of direction is
exactly.
incredible.
Yeah. It's and those skill set things you don't lose from an injury, right? They might be slower, but
Right.
as far as what I've seen with Von Miller is Tyson, you're being very rude.
You are being very rude. You gave me a little nip there. I did not appreciate that, buddy.
But yeah, I think that we might see a little bit of the Von Miller of old, where he's saved a little bit towards the end of the game, where he can make those important third and fourth down stops.
Yeah, I mean, evidence to that fact, right? Von Miller had 4 sacks going into this last game. He was like, okay, I need to get a sack. I'm getting $1 million if I get a sack.
Yeah.
So what does he do? He goes in there, one play,
Yeah.
gets a sack,
At
comes
will.
back out.
At will,
He just wanted to get 1 sack for $1 million and
Exactly.
went out, got the sack, got off. And one thing Von Miller is very known for is setting players up, right? He
Like the whole game.
the
right?
whole game throughout the entire game, he's running a specific way and he rushes against the opponent's right tackle
Yep.
in specific ways, and then at the end of the game when we need a sack,
Yep.
he throws out his best move, and
Yeah.
it's something that the other guy never saw that entire game. And everyone knows his moves, but like, you've been playing against him the whole game, you forget.
Yeah. You don't know when it's going to come.
Yeah, you have no idea when it's going to
Yeah.
come, and you forget how to block against it. And he just throws out his best move at the end of the game when it's most important, and he gets a sack.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. He's very cerebral, and
Yep.
you don't lose that from an injury like he got. You don't lose that IQ on the field. And I haven't seen him pulling out moves like that like he normally does. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm not. Maybe it is a loss of step from the injury, but I think that it's a strategic play by the Buffalo Bills to be like, hey, you're coming off an injury. Let's not let the league know that you still got it, and we're gonna pull it out when it really matters.
Yep, exactly. And that's such a great point. Like, I feel like that could very well happen, right? Like, there's a chance he's lost a bit of a step, right? But Von Miller losing a step is like still a great player. Like, I'll use a different example. When Tyreek Hill, the fastest guy in the league, loses a step, it won't matter because he's still going to be one of the fastest guys in the league. When you're one of the best players in the league, when you lose a step, you go from being one of the best in the league to still being a pretty great player.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Von Miller couldn't do what Myles Garrett could do right now.
Right.
But
I mean, he's still going to be top tier, and they've almost, if we're correct. They've almost portrayed this picture of like he's a little bit of a lost cause now.
Yep, exactly. I completely agree with you. That
And-
could be a very big difference.
And on the other end of that is Josh Allen's legs. We have not seen nearly as much scrambling from Josh Allen as we have in previous seasons, except for the games where it really mattered.
Right. The Chiefs. Let's see. The Chiefs were the big one.
Mostly the Chiefs game, yeah. And we go. There's a little bit of a chip on our shoulder whenever we go into a Chiefs game, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And we were going in there to win, and it was shown. And that was one of the only games where Josh Allen utilized his legs. And I suspect that it's to prolong Josh's career, make sure that he stays healthy, and we don't force any fumbles, things like that.
This is all not considering the tush push, or as we like to call it, the booty blast.
The booty blast, and snowplow.
The snowplow. Yeah, like when we're talking about him not using his legs, he'll snowplow it or booty blast it right up the gut, and gets it almost every time.
Yeah, we are the best tush push team in the league.
It used to be Philly, but once Kelsey retired, I feel like it just became us because I think we have one of the best tush push offensive lines in the league.
Yeah, I don't know if we lead the league in third down conversions or fourth down conversions,
So I think,
but we do lead the league in rushing touchdowns.
Yes, we do lead the league in. Oh, we do. I actually didn't know.
I'm almost certain. We can verify that, but yeah, I'm almost certain that we lead the league in rushing touchdowns. You go ahead. I'll look that up.
Yeah. As far as fourth down conversions, we did lead the league in fourth down conversion percentage and rate because I think we were perfect on it before this last game, and then we tried to push it with Mitch Trubisky and the backup offensive line, and it didn't go so well.
Okay, yeah. So Derrick Henry, James Cook, and Jahmyr Gibbs are all tied at 16. And then let's see what team.
Yeah, I mean, whenever we get down to the one, like we just push it, and it's an automatic touchdown.
Yeah, which is probably a significant amount of our rushing touch. Who cares? Whatever. The point is that we. If it's on the one, we have a free play almost.
Yeah. And like a lot of people criticize Sean McDermott for doing the tush push on the one again in that Rams game and then having to use a timeout. But like it's your best play, right? It is almost guaranteed that you're going to get it, right? So I fully support that play. Like I would say 19 times out of 20 we're successful in the tush push. Which is why, like, on 3rd and 1, he tush pushes it because on 4th and 1, odds are very high you're going to get at least one of those two.
Well, I had no problem with the tush push. My biggest problem was that for some reason we tried to disguise the tush push. We have some crazy percentage on tush push success. Why are we then trying to do a fake? That we're doing a different. If it's not broken, if you can wave it in their face like, "Hey, we're going to tush push you," and it works every time, don't mix it up and try doing something fancy because
exactly.
that's one of the only times that we failed doing it this year.
Exactly. Yeah.
And yes, verified. We lead the league with rushing touchdowns with 30.
Okay, so we have 30. Does it say who the second is?
Detroit, but it doesn't say how many.
Okay.
But yeah. Going into the rest of the playoffs, what do you think is our biggest challenge on the AFC side of the bracket?
I mean, it's clearly the Chiefs. I mean,
right.
Chiefs didn't start the season very well. Like, obviously, they kept winning in the most annoying way possible. But like the last couple of games, they've looked really good.
Yeah.
And like they're the Chiefs, right? And if you want to get to the Super Bowl, you got to go through Kansas City, right?
Obviously, we don't get to see the Chiefs unless we make it through our side of the bracket. Who do you think poses more of a threat? Do you think the Chiefs pose more of a threat than the Ravens do to us?
Oh, 100%.
Really?
I mean, the Ravens, I'll say this. I think the Ravens have a better matchup against us, but I don't think they're a better team.
Okay.
I think the Ravens' defense is significantly worse than the Chiefs' defense. And you can't discount Pat Mahomes, right? Like, Mahomes just has some kind of witch magic. Like he made some kind of deal with some kind of devil, and like you can't discount the man in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know. I might just be jaded, but I'm in total Chiefs hater mode this year, and I have been saying all year, I'm like, I think the Chiefs are mid. They're upper mid at best, and they get super lucky against every team that they played. They have not have impressive wins against bad teams. And the first time that they played a real team in the Buffalo Bills, they got their butts handed to them. And so I think, I think that as far as the bracket lines up, obviously they have the 1 seed, they get the bye. I don't think that they have the most difficult matchup to get into the AFC Championship, but I think that I think people are sleeping on the possibility of the Chiefs not even making to the AFC Championship.
really, I mean, I get it. Like, we're probably looking at a Chargers-Chiefs game, right? Like, assuming all of the favorites win, all of the teams that are favored to win, like Chargers are favored over Houston in Houston, which is kind of embarrassing for Houston.
Well, I agree. That makes sense to me. I don't think that Houston's that good, honestly.
Yeah, and the Chargers have played the Chiefs twice this year.
That's
right?
true.
So, like,
That's true.
if there's a team that knows them other than the Bills,
Right.
it is a team like the Chargers. And, like, honestly, that would be the ideal scenario for the Bills, is to see the Chargers come in and beat the Chiefs. Right?
Yeah, and like you said, not likely in the sense they have the they earned the 1 seed, so they get the easier side of the bracket. But I don't know. I think that the possibility for an upset there for this season for the Chiefs, I think out of the past 3 years with them winning the Super Bowl the past 2 years, this is their worst year that they've looked, although they have the best record.
Yep.
in my opinion, which, do with that what you will.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree that, like, the eye test wasn't great for the Chiefs this year. But, like,
they're doing what they got to do.
They're
getting the wins.
They got some kind of black magic going
They do.
on. Like,
They do.
I don't know what it is. They made a deal with the devil. Maybe one in zebra stripes.
A little Beetlejuice action.
Oh no! The zebra is the referees.
Oh, well, maybe Beetlejuice is out there reffing the game.
Don't say it one more time.
That's true. I have said it twice now. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the NFC side of the bracket. Obviously, we talked about Lions, Philly are probably the 2 teams that are suspected to get into the Super Bowl out of the NFC side. We beat the Lions already.
Yep.
So let's go ahead and talk about the Eagles. How do you think we match up against the Eagles?
Well, so the Eagles are very dependent on one thing, and it's Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
Jalen Hurts is in concussion protocol right now. So
yes.
if he plays, then yes, I agree. The Eagles are very much the.
Did they win last week? I think Kenny Pickett's doing decent.
Yeah, but
I know what you mean.
It's
to
playoff
beat
football.
to win the Super Bowl. It's different.
yeah, and playoff football is just a different speed of the
Right.
game, right? Like, every guy's playing as hard as they can to win this football game, right? Like, you don't necessarily know that that's the case in the regular season.
Right.
So it'll be very interesting. That said,
If Jalen Hurts is back for the playoff, makes to the Super Bowl, Bills Eagles Super Bowl, how do you think we match up with that? I think it's a scary matchup, but I don't think it's impossible for us to win.
I don't know that it's that scary, honestly.
Really?
Like, I think Jalen Hurts is good.
Yep.
I don't think they can keep up. I think I think our offense can dominate their defense, and I don't think that they can just keep up, right? Like, our entire goal in a game against the Eagles, I think, is to cause a turnover,
Okay.
right? Like, our defense, like, they might allow for them to get big yards on a run or something like that because they're over pursuing, but I think we're just going to hunt for turnovers against them. And if we get one turnover, I don't think that they're keeping up with the Bills.
Yeah, I'm looking up the interceptions for Jalen Hurts this year. It's going to be more than Josh Allen. But let's see. Jalen Hurts. Oh, wow.
What is it?
He's actually only thrown 5 interceptions.
He has not played every game with, well, I guess Josh Allen hasn't either, but
Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think that it's a scary matchup
Yeah.
I'd rather play the Lions. We beat them once already. Their defense is decimated. I think that the Eagles, they have like three major threats on offense outside of Jalen Hurts. Whereas, we maybe on paper, we don't have the number of all-stars on our offenses as they do, but we have people that are, right up there and are getting the ball consistently.
The other kind of thing to consider is when we've lost Super Bowls in our history.
Yeah.
We've lost to the other three NFC East teams. We've lost to the Cowboys, the Giants, and the Commanders.
The football team.
The Washington football team. We've lost to those three teams, and the Eagles are the only NFC East team that we haven't lost to in a Super Bowl.
I don't like the sound of that, but you know what? Streaks are meant to be broken.
Yes. I do not want to see the Eagles for a couple of reasons. There's that. There's the fact that Kristen is pretty much an Eagles fan.
Yeah, Kristen's my fiance. Her family is kind of split between Ravens and Eagles fans, but it's all right. We've converted her to a Bills fan. You know that if it's Bills Eagles, we're still going to be up in Buffalo. We're not going to be in dirty Philly. We're going to be in Buffalo watching the Super Bowl.
Oh, that's for sure.
So, yeah. So, any closing points that we'd like to touch on? Because speaking of such, my watch has buzzed about 3 times getting calls from my fiance. So I think close to time for us to wrap it up. Any closing thoughts?
No, I don't think I've got anything else other than go Bills.
Yeah, man, I'm so excited. I really think that this is the year that the Bills have to take advantage of the position they put themselves in. We're so healthy. Like I said, I think that we have some things in the bag that we have not yet shown, and I hope that's the case.
Yeah.
Yeah, go Bills.
Yeah, go Bills.
All right, man. Thanks so much for joining us today. We have been playing with the channel, trying to see exactly what niche we want to find ourselves in. But you know what? One thing that's always going to be consistent is we're Buffalo Bills fans, love sports, and so we might be bringing more sports news to you guys soon.
Yep. And if you enjoyed the podcast, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, do all of the fun things that YouTube
press that button
for.
wherever it is in relation to where we are. All right.
Down there, maybe?
All right. Love you guys. Peace.
Peace.
So I don't do this if you're not.